going on, Dragon Ball fans? Welcome back to another Dragon Ball fan manga breakdown review, where today we're going to be reviewing a fan manga entitled Dragon Ball AF, which is a fan-made manga set within its own timeline outside of the main canon of Akira Toriyama and Toei Animation. As for many years now, I've been reviewing and introducing all kinds of Dragon Ball fan mangas to the world created by the community for the community, so if you guys are interested in seeing and reading up on incredible stories and concepts such as Dragon Ball AF, Dragon Ball Legendary, Dragon Ball New Age, Dragon Ball X, and many others, then feel free to check out the Dragon Ball fan manga playlist in the description box for more videos such as this, as right now we are going to be diving into a brand new manga chapter. As before we begin, if you are new to this channel, hit that subscribe button and turn on all notifications to be the first to know when a new video is posted onto this channel, as we kick off Young Gigi's Dragon Ball AF manga chapter number 5 part 2, with our heroes having to stand against Marble and Chiyuko as they are about to engage in battle. Now what's most interesting about this is Marble doesn't seem to be threatened by the opposing powers that Goten, Trunks, and Maju pose, but instead ends up smiling at the face of adversity, as we see both Trunks and Goten transform into Super Saiyans, and Maju having to release more of his inner power. And right before the battle begins, Trunks goes on to state, "We can't use the Dragon Ball, so let's not do anything pointless. We will make you move elsewhere," as Marble replies by stating elsewhere, as Goten and Trunks use an attack so powerful that it pushes Marble away, as Trunks' initial plan is to get Marble away from the city as quickly as possible, or at least away from the populace. And this is why Trunks' initial plan was to target Marble, while Maju ends up targeting Chiyuko. And at this given point, we see how once Maju rushes in, the ultimate battle continues. And these two residing demon gods don't seem to be concerned at all, because as Marble acknowledges Goten and Trunks, Chiyuko and Maju end up landing elsewhere, as Maju goes on to state, "I am your opponent," with Chiyuko replying by stating, "You think you're worthy of even being my opponent?" As over out on the other side, Marble begins to look down on Goten and Trunks and having to state, "You are better than I thought, and I was a little too naive. Anyways, shall we get started?" As Trunks goes on to state, "What's this guy's ki?" As Goten looks at Trunks and saying, "It's the first time I felt a ki like this before. This is really an unpleasant ki." As moments before striking, we see how Marble smiles as he goes in for the kill. And Marble at this point is so fast that he's able to catch both Goten and Trunks off guard effortlessly while battling them. And we see how Trunks at this point can't seem to keep up, as Marble seems to be on a whole different level, as Marble is even able to outmaneuver Goten, as Goten goes on to state he disappeared right before appearing behind Goten and having to kick him behind the neck. And this fight most definitely serves the favor of Marble, because even with both Goten and Trunks' Super Saiyan 2 powers, they seem to pale in comparison next to Marble's. And Marble certainly isn't holding back, as we see Goten and Trunks begin to stagger, and Marble doesn't seem to be letting up either, because Marble is actually bringing the fight to Goten and Trunks, effortlessly beating down two Super Saiyan 2s with complete and utter ease. As we see Goten and Trunks in the sky, Marble begins to put his hands together as he begins to smile, which at that given point, Goten looks on over at Trunks and saying, "Fast! What's that speed?" As Trunks goes on to state, "Impossible to hit him. At this rate, our bodies will be weakened." As Marble goes on to state, "Haha, I caught you." And Trunks is like, "Caught us? What on earth does that mean?" As Trunks looks on over at Goten, Goten can't seem to move his body. As Goten goes on to state, my body. And it looks like Marble had caught Goten and Trunks in some sort of a technique to where they can't move their bodies, which is giving him the advantage, because we see how Trunks goes on to state, "I can't move. I just can't move," with Marble having to reply by stating, "Will you be able to withstand this technique?" As not only Marble manages to imprison both Goten and Trunks in some sort of a cubicle-like object, but also manages to completely blow them away. And Trunks and Goten, even after Dragon Ball GT is long and over with, after their training, after growing so much in power, even right now, both of them can cease to even touch Marble in battle. And at this point, we see how Marble unleashes an attack so ferocious that it literally creates a nuclear-like explosion to where it levels the entire field. And over back at the Supreme Kai homeworld, we see how Gohan, Kibito Kai, and Vegeta are watching this through the crystal ball, as Gohan cries out, "Goten, Trunks!" As Vegeta even goes on to state, "Good grief, what a pitiful fight. They neglected their training once more." As Gohan looks on over at Vegeta and stating, "Vegeta-san, we should really," as Vegeta quickly replies and stating, "I told you it's useless. This is a good medicine for them. Let them be." And even Kibito Kai's like, "Vegeta," and Gohan's like, "But Goten, and Trunks, and Vegeta doesn't want to hear it. He goes on to state it's fine. They're not really serious yet, you know that. And Vegeta is making the insinuation that, yeah, Goten and Trunks have not only abandoned their training, but this is what they need as a wake-up call to get better. So Vegeta is hesitant, but back on Earth we see how Chiyuko and Majub begin to engage, as Chiyuko seems to be at a disadvantage against Majub, as we see Majub holding the upper hand, as Chiyuko goes on to state this guy is stronger than I thought. Since things went that way, I'll have to use that technique. So Chiyuko seems to have something in mind, because it looks like Majub is actually holding the upper hand against them, but then out of nowhere, we see how as Majub charges, Chiyuko begins to stop him. He freeze frames Majub, and Majub stands there as he goes on to state this is where the hell is. Wait a minute. Where am I? As out of nowhere we see a voice cry out, "It's been a while, Oob." As Oob slowly turns around, he suddenly spots Goku. As Goku goes on to state, "Hey!" And Oob is dumbfounded and stating, "Goku! Why are you here? Aren't you supposed to be sealed within the Dragon Balls?" As Goku goes on to state, this is during the 3 years the evil energy has been purged and the seal has been released." As Oob goes on to state, So that's how it went? I mean, I'm glad that you're safe, but then something's off with Goku. As Goku begins to grin and smile and stating, "More importantly, Oob, wanna fight me like the good old days? Show me how strong you've gotten." As Oob goes on to state, yeah, I mean, it was always fun to fight against you, Goku. I'm looking forward to it." As Goku goes on to state, "Alright then, shall we go, Oob?" As Oob agrees, we finally have the engagement between Son Goku and Oob. However, this seems to be a bit different than how we originally remember. And that's only because Goku and Oob seem to be having such an intense battle, which I personally enjoy, but there's something up with Goku. This doesn't seem to be the normal Goku that we're all used to, because the normal Goku wouldn't go as far as to smile, let alone having to look at Oob through a certain perspective, especially now knowing the fact that we understand that Chiyuko had used the technique that resulted in Oob having to be in this particular situation. But then we see as Goku looks on over to Oob, he goes on to state, "You're doing well, Oob. You got me excited. I'm going to be serious from now on, got it?" As Oob looks on, we see how Goku begins to transform, and shockingly enough, we see how Super Saiyan 4 Goku is once more introduced, which now presents the idea of seeing Super Saiyan 4 Goku versus Oob. But it doesn't seem to stop there. Oob seems to be a bit nervous until he notices something that Goku ends up doing, and that's putting his hands together for the Kamehameha. Oob looks on over with complete shock as Goku cries out, "Kamehameha!" And we see how Oob begins to also stick his hands out in having to do somewhat of a final flash-like pose, as Oob also seems to be concentrating his energy together in having to fight off against Goku's inevitable Kamehameha, in which finally we see how Super Saiyan 4 Goku and Oob fire off their attacks, and we see these massive beams begin to engage one another as there seems to be a beam struggle between the two. Now Goku in this case doesn't seem to be concerned, as opposed to Oob, who seems to be very nervous, especially during the engagement. We see the look on Oob's face. He doesn't seem to be focused. He doesn't seem to be having the edge, but instead Goku overtakes Oob with the Kamehameha, blowing Oob back completely. And we see how the blast overtakes him. Goku seems to be smiling on the other side. Until Oob falls down to the ground, we see how Oob's beginning to shake. He can't seem to stand. Out of nowhere, Goku walks on over and he lends Oob his hand. And we see as Oob stands back up, he goes on to state, "Thank you very much. As I thought, I'm still no match for you." As Goku goes on to state, "Not hardly, Oob. You did really great. I was really surprised. Let's do it again once more." And Oob is like, "Sure, with pleasure," until the reality around Oob begins to shift and change, as Oob realizes that indeed this was not Goku. And as Oob notices this, we see how Chiyuko begins to manifest and having to state, "Oh, he is totally caught in my genjutsu. Just a little more," and bam! We see how Chiyuko kicks Oob directly in the chin, masquerading as Goku this entire time. And that's the ability, that's the technique that Chiyuko actually had, which was the ability to manifest himself in the form of a physical host, one of which Oob had lots of respect and admiration for, which just so happened to have been Goku. And instantly, as Oob goes down, we see how he's struggling to get back up, as Oob goes on to state, I can't win against you, Goku-san," because through Oob's eyes, he thinks that he's fighting Goku, but instead, this entire time, he in fact is fighting Chiyuko. As Oob goes on to state, "That's right, I keep collecting the energy that you're losing. That's all because you think that you can't defeat the opponent who's right in front of you. I can't win. I can't win against you, Goku, as Chieko goes on to state it's time to finish you off. But then we see how Oob instantly sparks a fire within himself as he also begins to power up. His power pouring from his body, we see how Oob is not taking defeat lightly, as out of nowhere Chieko seems to be very surprised as Oob is raising his power level far beyond his own expectations, as Chieko goes on to state, what's this key? Instead of getting weaker, he's steadily just becoming stronger. What? And Oob is beginning to power up so ferociously that Chieko goes on to state, this is bad. At this rate, it'll become dangerous to maintain this technique. As out of nowhere, we see how Chieko cries out and saying, I have no choice but to cancel the technique. Quiet down, as Oob, surprisingly enough, ends up calming down. And Chieko goes on to state, right, quiet down, and Oob snaps out of it as he goes on to state, what the, you, and Chieko goes on to state, right, to protect the Earth I fought against this guy, of course, shit, this is the first time I ever met such a guy like this. What on earth is he? As Oob goes on to state, tough luck, but you can't win against me. I'll defeat you right now. As Chieko responds by stating, shit, don't get carried away. I'll make you understand how dreadful I truly am. As Chieko begins to run away, but Oob notices this and stating, wait, and pursues him. And Chieko realizes that at this point he could be at a disadvantage as he goes on to state, shit, having to use such power against the guy for now. Let's fuse with Marble. As he charges towards Marble's direction, we see how Marble is standing there after fighting Goten and Trunks and saying, this is a really nice tone, as we see both Goten and Trunks emerge from the rubble as instantly they begin to cry out, Fusion! Ha! As they fuse into Gotenks for the very first time in quite some time, as they instantly become Super Saiyan 3. And now we have Super Saiyan 3 adult Gotenks having to stare off against Marble, as Marble seems to be taken back. He notices the strength of Gotenks as Gotenks goes on to reply by stating, sorry, I was just analyzing the situation until now. Now, the real game begins. As Marble goes on to state, you surprised me. I never thought that there would be people knowing how to fuse on this planet. As Gotenks replies by stating, sorry, I don't have that much time, so let's just finish this quickly. As Marble laughs by stating things became interesting. Okay, I'm ready whenever you are. As Gotenks instantly charges in and Marble seems to be taken back because of Gotenks' speed, and Gotenks delivers a ferocious elbow to the jaw as he quickly goes on the attack, and now it looks like Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks seems to be having the lead against Marble, punching, kicking, elbowing him in the back of the neck, in the jaw, in the face, as Marble seems to be hurt, but also Gotenks is not letting up. Gotenks instead is bringing the fight to Marble, assessing his power and even going as far as to hit Marble so hard that it sends Marble off flying in the distance as Gotenks cries out continuous Super Donuts, locking Marble in a very similar attack that Gotenks had used against Super Buu, as we see Gotenks using this to his advantage and having to cry out Ultra Super Volleyball Attack, and he begins to toss around Marble who's imprisoned within Gotenks' Super Volleyball Attack as Gotenks launches up the ball in the sky and instantly hits it back down into the earth where it creates a massive crater, and we see how Gotenks is beginning to laugh. He thinks that the fight is over, and he looks on down as Gotenks goes on to state, haha, that was perfect, but then out of nowhere, Marble appears behind Gotenks, and Gotenks is getting really irritated here by having to state still alive. Such a tough one you are, and Marble seems to be very antsy at this point as Gotenks puts his arms together and having to state even you won't be able to survive this one. And Marble at this point goes on to state, shit, I didn't expect him to power up by that much. However, I still have a secret. As we see Chuyoko fly up behind Gotenks, he goes on to cry out, Marble! And we see how Oob arrives and having to state, Gotenks, I'm sorry. Chuyoko ends up next to Marble and having to state, you guys did pretty well. However, you can't win against us. As Oob goes on to state, there's no point in bluffing now, you poor losers. As Marble isn't having any of it, as he goes on to respond by stating, we'll show you now whether or not we're poor losers. Are you ready? And we see how both Chiyuko and Marble touch each other's chests as instantly they cry out, Marble, Chiyuko, and then in a blinding flash of light, we see how they both cry out fusion. A fusion technique that's never been seen before. And Gotenks and Oob are like, wait, what? As Marble and Chiyuko are engulfed in a blinding flash of light, as instantly out of nowhere we have the birth of a new super fusion. And we see how both of them are combining their powers as Gotenks goes on to state, no way, they're using the fusion too? And Oob goes on to state, that's impossible, what the hell? And Marble is beginning to transform. Their vessels are beginning to unite, as instantly through the light we have the birth of a new mega fusion. Of course, having to look exactly like Marble, we see how Marble goes on to state, I'm sorry to have kept you waiting so long. This is our true form. And Oob is like, what's this key? As Marble replies by saying, I'll show you that there is a real difference of strength between us. As he charges in, he instantly knocks down Gotenks with a simple punch to the face. And at this point, even Oob is like, fast! And Marble at this point is able to outmaneuver Gotenks so much that Gotenks can't even register as to how fast Marble truly is. Not even Oob as well. As Oob is up in the sky, he isn't able to shake the feeling knowing the fact that now Marble has the upper hand. As Oob goes on to state his strength and his speed increased considerably. How? As back on the homeworld of the Supreme Kais, Gohan looks at Vegeta and saying, Vegeta, those guys fused! It's really bad. It's really, really bad. At this rate, they're going to, and Vegeta's like, sure, bothersome guy. Let's go, Gohan. Kaioshin, come with us too. And Gohan's like, Vegeta? And Kibito Kai's like, no, wait a little, please. Gotenks is beginning to change. And Vegeta's like, wait, what? As back down on Earth we see how Gotenks emerges from the rubble, but he seems to be alive and kicking. He hasn't been fully defeated, but then that's when Marble goes on to state, you completely made fun of me until now, but because you were such better than I expected, I also had to pull it out as well. Interesting, right? I slowly got bored of this fight, so let's put an end to it. Let's start the real fun now, shall we? And Oob is shaking. Oob is like, shit, but Gotenks doesn't seem to be concerned. Gotenks actually spits out of his mouth. He begins to crack his neck. He's not displaying any concern on his face, and Marble's looking at him like, what are you doing? And that's when Gotenks begins to smile, and stating, in that case, I too will fight seriously. And Marble's like, wait, what did you just say? As Gotenks goes on to state, I wanted to use it against the evil dragons, but it looks like I'll have to need it now. Are you ready? And that's when Oob is like, Gotenks, he has the intention to turn into that? As we see Gotenks slowly pull a capsule off of his belt, we see how he clicks it, throws it, and we see the Brute Swave machine. And we see how he throws it to Oob and stating, Oob, do it now! Do it now! And Marble doesn't seem to understand what exactly Gotenks is talking about, as back on the homeworld of the Kais, we see how Gohan goes on to state, this is isn't it a small model of the Brute Swave generator? And Vegeta's like, are they going to become a Super Saiyan 4? If they fail, it's going to be a mess, as Oob instantly uses the Brute Swave generator in allowing Gotenks to transform into a giant Ozaru, but then, as he's beginning to transform, we see how Gotenks is slowly starting to condense. And Marble doesn't understand what's happening, but he's anticipating it with shock. Out of nowhere, through the blinding light, we see how Marble, Vegeta, Gohan, everyone is watching as a new super fusion is born, giving birth to Super Saiyan 4 adult Gotenks. Marble seems to be in complete shock and stating, what? Everyone, Kibito Kai, Gohan, and Vegeta are also puzzled as Gotenks goes on to state, haha, this was my final trump card. Well, let's begin the final round, shall we? As the manga chapter comes to a close. Now, what I really enjoyed about this is seeing how Chiyuko was able to not only take the form of Goku in tricking Oob that he was actually fighting his master, but also seeing a new type of fusion be introduced, a new fusion type method. And if by some chance you guys have missed out the previous manga chapters on Young GG's Dragon Ball AF, then make sure you guys go ahead and click the description box down below to check them out, because this is all going to be built building towards the anticipation of Gohan and Vegeta's training with the Kais. But not only that, seeing the conclusive battle now between Marble, who is fused with Chiyuko, and Super Saiyan 4 Gotenks. And I really do love the introduction of Gotenks in the fact that he wasn't made out to be complete fodder, because in Dragon Ball Super, Dragon Ball GT, and of course in Dragon Ball Z, Gotenks was pretty much fodder. So now to see Gotenks actually have some relevance against an actual villain, it gave me some hope in actually believing in the character. However, even for Oob, as inferior as he is to Marble now, I still respect the fact that even now Oob is actually playing a role in helping Gotenks evolve, and I really did enjoy this manga chapter because it really does emphasize on the level of danger that Marble does possess. He possesses techniques and powers that we quite frankly haven't seen before, and that's a really dangerous trait to have, especially for a demon that comes from a different dimension. But I also respect the idea of having Oob and Gotenks be relevant in this story, because it looks like with Goku having to be gone and Gohan and Vegeta off training on a different world, I think that this definitely creates a scenario to where it develops the other characters significantly enough. And I really did enjoy Marble's fusion, but it looks like Marble's singular form wasn't even enough to fight Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks yet, because Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks didn't really have any sort of problem keeping up with him, and that's what really sucked, is seeing Chiyuko and Marble in their individual forms basically result in being fodder up until their actual fusion. So in the end, guys, I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. What are your overall thoughts on this battle? What are your thoughts on Marble's fusion? What are your thoughts on Super Saiyan 4 Gotenks? Let us know in the comment section below, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you guys go ahead and slap a like down below. If of course you guys love anime and Dragon Ball, don't forget to punch that subscribe button and enable all notifications to never miss a single upload. Tune back in for the next Dragon Ball fan manga video, and I'll be seeing each and every single one of you guys down the comment section below. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Peace.
This is the Galactic Emperor of the Universe, and of course I'm here to tell you to subscribe to UnrealEntGaming and all his social media platforms. Also, don't forget to turn on notifications so you can be the first to know every time that he uploads a new video.
Oh, did someone say UnrealEntGaming? Oh my god!
The fuck's up? Put on some clothes!
Well, why don't you put on any clothes?
What? I don't need clothes. Jesus Christ, that's huge!